Good afternoon, and welcome to today's VetNet Career Connections Hangout entitled eMentor, Online Career Mentoring for Veterans and Informational Hangout. My name is Mike Shenick, and I'm the Program Manager for VetNet at the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, located on the campus of Syracuse University. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. If you are participating live, please feel free to just speak up and ask your question. You can also utilize the chat function box by hovering over the left side of your screen, clicking the chat function, and it should open on the right side. For those of you who are watching out on YouTube, please feel free to type your question in the comment box, and we will relay that to our presenters. And finally, as always, you are able to type your question on the Google Plus event page. So I would like to now introduce Erica Hemme, who is the eMentor Leadership Program Manager. She's going to tell us a little bit about today's Hangout, introduce herself, and then we'll introduce some of the mentors and proteges who will be participating in today's Hangout. So Erica, I'll turn things over to you.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody, and before we begin, I just want to say thank you so much to Michael and all the folks at VetNet for hosting this morning, and for all the other events that you hosted which highlight the great programs that are available for veterans right now. Thanks also to Greg, David, and John who are joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. We really appreciate it. I'd like to start by providing just a brief overview of Veteran eMentor. The Veteran eMentor program is run by Academy Women. Academy Women is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2003 to foster leadership and professional development through sharing among female military officers. And one of the ways that Academy Women decided to foster this environment was by creating an online mentoring program for military officers. And the purpose of this was to be able to connect people that were in different duty locations across the services so that they could communicate with each other and learn from each other. In recent years, Academy Women recognized the growing need for veterans to be able to connect with civilian mentors in various industries as they prepared for their transition from the military to the civilian workforce. And at the end of 2012, with the support from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Academy Women stood up Veteran eMentor program. Today the program is used by over 1,000 veterans, or soon-to-be veterans. Some are still active duty in the process of transitioning. And we have over 450 volunteer mentors. These mentors are charged with the mission to provide support and guidance to proteges around a range of issues such as preparing for and conducting a job search, setting career goals, and managing challenges. Over half of our volunteer mentors are veterans themselves. Some are recent veterans who have made mistakes along the way as they transitioned, or learned some things as they did, and they want to prevent others from making those same mistakes. Others are veterans who served and got out a while ago, and they've now become experts in their second career field, and they want to give back and help veterans. Our non-veteran mentors are individual mentors who are looking for a way to serve the military community and say thank you. And we consider ourselves very lucky that they've decided to join our organization as a volunteer. Our mentors represent over 300 different companies and nonprofit organizations. And that's about all I'm going to say. And I think I think that the best thing that we can do is talk to our two mentors that we have on the line, David and Greg, and John, our protege. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, David, if you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, cool. Can you guys hear me okay?
We got you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. My name is David Worth. I'm an entrepreneur. I do several different things. My main company is Ideas Design, and that company does website development, internet marketing, mobile app development, all kinds of stuff in that digital realm. I have a hosting company. I do stunt shows with my brother and air shows. I grew up in a military family. My father is a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, flew B-52s, A-10s, T-38s, and handful of other planes. My brother is a major in the Air Force. He flies the 135s at the Grissom Air Force Base. He was also a stunt pilot and a airline pilot and a flight instructor for aerobatics and spin recovery. That's kind of my brief 2-second resume. I have a couple other tinier startups. I'm kind of a startup addict and have lots of business experience. The reason I'm doing this is because I was never able to get into the military myself. I got into a couple accidents as a high school kid doing the other stunt things, and as long as the military didn't do x-rays, then I could probably get in, but they'll see half of me as metal and probably won't let that happen. So growing up in a military family, I have a reverence for the military lifestyle and what our veterans and military people do for us as civilians, and a great appreciation and understanding for that. And this is a program where I can still participate and make a difference, even though I can't get out in the field or in a plane or do any of the things that my brother and father can do. I guess that's about it. Unless you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything or keep going or whatever.
Let's go around the horn and have everybody introduce themselves right now. So cool. Let's go to you, Greg.
Hi, hey, and hey, David. I want to just thank you for stepping up and serving veterans. You are. It's very important, even if you haven't served. And I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you so much, David. Well, hey, folks. Glad to be here. So happy that I was invited to participate. My name is Greg Jenkins. I am a retired U.S. Army Sergeant Major. I spent a little tiny bit of time in the Michigan National Guard, but the predominance of my experience is as an active duty soldier, combat engineer specifically. I was stationed all over the world, Germany, South Korea, an invasion of Iraq. I finished up my career at the Pentagon working for the Army's diversity and inclusion efforts. I'm married 29 years. We have a wonderful son who's going to be 25 next week, and I liked the idea of serving the nation. I was fortunate to be in the presence of many very good leaders, mentors, and coaches, and the reason that I want to be here today and continue with my work with the eMentor, veteran program is to pay it forward, give back, and help out other men and women who selflessly serve our nation, and to help them transition as smoothly as possible into their next professional life. So glad to be here. Looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. On to you, John.
All right. Well, my name is John Holwedge, and I'm currently in the process of transitioning from active duty military to the civilian force. As I mentioned, I'm the one protege here, and Greg is actually my mentor for this and invited me out here, so I appreciate everybody for inviting me to this. So I did 14 years active duty Air Force. I'm a aircraft armament system. In other words, I load bombs and missiles, so not a huge job market in the civilian world for bomb and missile loaders. So, I obviously had to look outside of the things when I was young in the military, so I started going to school. So in my 14 years, I've probably spent about 11 of those years going to school full-time. In that time period, I've got up to my master's in public administration now. So now, while I've been in for the last couple of years, we're working on the master's degree. I've been volunteering within my local community, doing a lot of stuff with emergency management, which is what my master's degree is in. And here just 2 days ago, I accepted employment in the civilian world, doing emergency management specialist for a healthcare organization where my team's going to be responsible for about 9 hospitals and about 150 clinics. So it's going to be a pretty busy civilian life. So luckily, through the help of the mentorship program and stuff like that, I was able to make a quick, smooth transition. And thankfully for my family, it's not going to be too bumpy of a road. So that's pretty much about it for me. I'll go ahead and pass it back.
Thanks, John. I'd like to know what you found was the biggest challenge that you thought you faced as you were preparing to transition.
think probably the biggest challenge that I was looking at facing was just the world unknown. I mean, being in the military, we're institutionalized. We're given all these awesome benefits. I mean, I'm looking through this job offer currently, and it's half foreign to me, talking about co-pays, co-insurance, and a bunch of other things. So, I mean, it was that whole unknown, and now here I am being faced with the unknown, and I'm still constantly just dealing with it's a total change. It's a whole nother culture going from the military. So that was my biggest challenge that I saw coming into it, and here I am now going into it, and it really is the biggest challenge that I'm being faced with right now.
So now I'm going to put you on the spot, of course, since Greg is here listening to you. But how did Greg help you? How did your mentor help you with facing those challenges and facing this new culture that you know nothing about? Was he able to help you understand more what you're doing?
Well, one of the biggest things that was helpful for me was just having that other set of eyes on my resume, making sure I'm using civilian terms, not all of our military terms that we like, not speaking military, making sure it's at a level that other people are going to be able to understand, and making sure I'm selling myself and all my other skills and traits that the military gave me, because obviously if I'm not going to be able to sell those traits, I'm not going to be able to get out there and to convey that message through my resume effectively. So that was one of the biggest things that Greg really helped me with. And now here I am getting again, this job offer. As soon as I got the job offer, I mean, Greg was the second person I called after my wife, and it was a matter of talking to him, and he was reminding me that it's more than just pay that I got to look at. I've got to look at all the different benefits, PTO, health care, and all those other things, and they make a full package. And again, in the military, we look at our base pay, and the benefits, they're there, but that's not what we're looking at constantly. We look at pay in the military, but obviously in the civilian world, you get that full benefit package, which makes up your total compensation package. And that was that's been a big help, and those are the type of things now I'm looking to Greg as my mentor for.
Great, thank you. I'll take you off the spot for a little bit. David, why don't you tell us a little bit about what some of the challenges are that your proteges have faced, who you've worked with, that were unique to a veteran coming into the civilian workforce?
Okay, I think one of the challenges that I've seen is, and I've been fortunate, I guess, fortunate in that the couple proteges that I've worked with so far are actually really smart and had more of a civilian job kind of description in the military anyway. One of the things I was worried about was in a scenario like what he was just talking about. You're loading bombs, and then how do you do that in civilian life? And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to help these people translate some of that, which is also exciting because I think I can come up with lots of scenarios, but these just happen to be jobs that actually kind of existed in the outside world anyway. So figuring out where they fit wasn't so much hard as they were trying to start businesses on their own. And that particular component, in the military, everything is very structured, and you kind of have a chain of command, and there's very little solopreneur types in situations in the military from what I've seen. So helping them understand the other components that they need to be responsible for, like marketing and presentation and other markets that those kind of services can fit into, have been the areas where I've been able to offer some help and support, and just kind of having somebody to bounce things off of. I told my proteges when I've had business mentors before, and for myself, one of the largest benefits for me personally would be talking to some guy who is 20 years ahead of me in the industry, and if he could just tell me what not to do, like instead of giving me a whole bunch of guidance on what to do. I've got lots of ideas, but if someone said, hey, you know what, that's going to be a big mistake, don't do that, those are usually the expensive ones. At least they have been for me. So having some stuff just to bounce another set of ears off of, and letting someone know or be comfortable in some of the decisions they're making helps that kind of progress smoothly, more comfortably, I think.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Greg, what about you? What have you seen that, because you transitioned yourself after you retired into the civilian world, and now you're watching newer veterans, guys and girls who've only been in for a couple of years, a handful of years, and those who are retiring and transitioning to the civilian workforce. Tell us a little bit about how a mentor can help those two different sets of veterans as they transition, because most people don't retire from the military and just retire. Most people move on to a second career.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. There's two, distinct classifications there between a person who does 3 or 4 or 5 years versus a person who does at least 20. I'll tell you, there's really, regardless of the amount of time that a service member has put in, based on my experience and what I see and observe and work with, there's 3 real distinct trends that have emerged. And the first one is, and both John and David have alluded to this in their discussion here today, is the translation of skill sets from your military experience, background, training, all of that, into some kind of usable civilian language, speak, communication that helps an organization, a hiring manager, recruiter, a company understand the things that he or she, the service member, can provide. That's the first one. It's the challenge of being able to communicate effectively. I think the second thing that I run into, irregardless of whether they're retirees or they've just done 3 years, is a general lack of preparation. And here's what I mean by that. I can speak intelligently on the Army side of the discussion. The other services I can't speak for, but I know in the United States Army you can begin your transition process up to 2 years before your separation date. And I see it again and again and again where service members, I think, neglect to take full advantage of that time span and really wait until it's really getting kind of late in the hour, if you will. And 2 years sounds like a long time, but it's really not. It's 24 pay periods, and it goes pretty fast when you think about it. I think that's the second trend that I see in terms of a challenge for either one of those veteran groups. And then I think another one is maybe a little bit more on a personal level, is the, in some cases, just really increased debt load that they may have, and really not understanding and taking into account the financial implications that are going to hit them pretty quickly when their income either goes to nothing if they've just ETS'd or finished their time in service, or even if they retire. I think they don't take into account oftentimes the drastic reduction in percentage of income that they are going to experience. And that's really a personal thing. There's reasons for that, and then I'm being respectful of that. I'm not trying to judge anybody on how they had to live their lives for whatever reason. That's their business. But that's an impact. You've got to be able to make sure that you've financially prepared yourself as well as possible for this transition. Because the fact is, you are going to transition. The idea is, can we make that transition as smooth as possible?
Great. Thank you very much for the great insight and talking about the financial aspect of it, which is obviously it's critical, but it is something that not everybody thinks about. And as John alluded to, the differences in what an entire compensation package is, versus the way that we look at things when we're in the military is just our base pay and our housing allowance. So, David, let's go back to you and tell me a little bit about why you would recommend mentors to people. Why would you recommend mentoring to veterans, and what kind of things do you think that they should ask their mentors?
Okay, I think the mentoring is important because it gives. I think one of the things I can provide is a very immersive civilian component, from running a business to having employees to being an employee to hiring employees, what people are looking for. I also have a unique experience of dealing with a whole bunch of different types of companies because I do marketing and website development. So my line of expertise is kind of like a jack of all trades and expert in none because I learned so much about all of my other clients that I know kind of a lot about what they're looking for. So I can provide some insight into how that fits into where some of these people want to go. I think I'm not sure if I have a complete answer on the next one or not, but the people that I've met, the proteges that I've spoken to, I think some of the things I've told them to ask is, or the things that they should be thinking about is, they've been along the lines of the couple that I've spoken to so far are not looking for employment. They are looking to start a business, to do a startup, start their own job or their own company. So the things and the feedback that I provide are along the lines of what are some of the struggles that I had when I've done some startups, and make them think and ask themselves some questions about if they have their dominoes in a row, their ducks in a row, for getting marketing going, getting the offer out there. A lot of people, especially starting up their own company, say, okay, I'm gonna build a website and I'm gonna do this, and here's my budget, and I got this much money, and here we go. And when I ask them, okay, well, how are you going to market this particular thing? So now you've got your widget and you've got your website and you're ready to sell, and it might be awesome, but you haven't budgeted any money for telling anybody that it exists. So that needs to be a key component. And if you have this much money, then you need to scale back somewhere so you can get the message out. So it's stuff like that I think I tell them to pay attention to and make sure that they're thinking about all of the pieces that will guide them to success and compartmentalizing each one of those in their budget.
Great. Thank you. John, what can you tell us about, I'm sorry, Greg, did you have something to add?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to throw back to John and ask why would you recommend getting a mentor to those who are getting ready to transition? You spoke a little bit about your own situation and how it benefited you, but why would you recommend it, and how soon would you recommend that people start working with a mentor to make their transition smooth?
All right. Yeah, I would recommend, for one, to answer the question about when would I get a mentor, I would recommend people getting a mentor at all times. They really should have one. I mean, I chose to find a mentor on this program about the time I realized that the potential existed that I was going to be leaving the military. I was one of the individuals that was out of the military because of the force shaping going on right now. So it was up in the air. There was too much, it might happen, it might not happen. But just for the simple fact that it might happen, I went ahead and I jumped on it and did some looking around there and found this program, and went out there and chose the mentor that seemed to fit my needs, what I was looking for, so, and that's how I came about this mentor. So I would definitely recommend, anybody finding a mentor. As far as time frame, you really always should have one. This program here, is awesome because it allows you to connect to that mentor that is going to be able to, you can relate to them and they can relate to you, which I think is just as important. Obviously, that type of a relationship is what helped me. I chose Greg. One reason was because he was military prior, and that's kind of what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody that can help me go from the institutionalization of the military and to leave that behind when I walked out those doors, so I can make a more smoother transition for my family into the civilian world. It's hard, it really is. We're so used to like we've talked about in the past, like David was talking about, structure. in the military there's so much structure. In the civilian world, the structure is chaos sometimes. So you got to be able to, adjust and go with that flow at all times. Otherwise, if you're so used to that structure and there's no structure, I think it would drive someone possibly insane, literally. So, and I think that, did I answer all those questions that you had?
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Right.
And you brought up a good point, too, that I'd like to address, and that is that our program is completely voluntary for both mentors and proteges, and our proteges can select their own mentors. We don't force match anybody. We do some matching percentages based on answers to your profile questions, and we give proteges a percentage that a mentor might match them and what their needs are, what their interests are, but we don't force match anybody. Our proteges can all browse through the mentors and choose who they want to be their mentor and reach out to them for mentoring, which is a pretty neat aspect, because you really, you've got 463 mentors that you can look through, and surely somebody in there is going to be a fit for you. So, David, tell me what's been the most surprising thing to you in working as a mentor? What, is there something that you've learned about veterans transitioning, or is there something that you've learned about yourself as you've been doing this? What surprised you in your relationships that you've had with people in our program?
Surprised me. I was surprised at the reception and the willingness to learn and participate. I've done other mentoring programs ever since I had my own mentor. I've kind of wanted to do that, and I've had mentors in sort of life coaching, other aspects of people's lives, fitness, things like that. And what I learned by doing that is 90% of the time you're wasting your breath. And they say they want to learn, but then you do the stuff and they don't actually do any of the advice or any of the steps. They're just not willing to work. And not so much that I was surprised that the military would be better. I actually expected it to be, just from growing up on bases and being in the military and knowing that work ethic. But pleasantly, kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It proved that to be right, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much the people that I've worked with pay attention to and come back to me and say, hey, I tried this worked. Hey, I tried that, it doesn't work. What do you think about this? And we go back and forth, and there's a lot of that going on. So that I've been happy with that. One of the other things I thought of while John was talking is that I think it's important for the military people coming out, number one, to plan early for every reason, but also there's a personality component to a lot of this stuff with mentoring and proteges. And on paper, people can look real good, like a real good fit, but when you communicate, there's communication styles, there's backgrounds, there's a lot of things that can make things not quite fit so smoothly. And I haven't had that yet because I've only had a couple proteges, but I think it's important for the proteges to be communicated to or informed that just because a first one may or may not work out real well, or they have a hard time communicating, they shouldn't get frustrated. They shouldn't stop and think that they can't do anything, or it's not going to work for them. They should just try somebody else, because personalities are always going to be a part of whether conflict or connection that make things work, regardless of the work background or the experience that can be shared. And I think that's an important thing for proteges to learn as they're coming out, because I can see the overwhelmingness of getting out and then being really frustrated, and that could be debilitating. Is there anything else? Did I cover that?
No, that's a great point, David. That's an excellent point. And we do see that happen from time to time, that a protege and a mentor will start working together, and it's just not a good fit. So that does happen, and we just recommend that people continue trying. Like David said, just reach out to other people. We recommend that proteges reach out to a couple of mentors on their initial get-go, because they may find that one mentor can offer them some advice in, in how to network, while somebody else may have a strength in, helping them with interviewing skills or teaching them about a particular industry. So you can have more than one mentor, and you should. And if one doesn't work out because of just not a good fit or for various different reasons, then you go back and try again. And certainly don't ever get frustrated. That's what I'm here for, is before anybody gets frustrated with anything that's going on in the program, is give me a call and I'll help you. So Greg, why don't you tell us what you found to be the most surprising, since you've been mentoring in the program and coming from a military background? What has surprised you?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to David's point about the personality being an important aspect of it. That's right on. It is a relationship like any other relationship, mentor and protege, and all relationships don't work out well. And so I think the personality aspect of it, as it applies to the relationship, is very important. Before I talk about the surprise thing, the thing that sparked a thought, both from what John and David has said, was even before we start talking about resumes and communicating skill sets and all that kind of stuff, it's really the first part of the discussion I ever have is, what is it that you want for yourself? What's the new azimuth that you have chosen? What do you want? And that's a surprisingly difficult question to answer for a lot of people. And I just want to kind of go back to that last question that you had asked both of those gentlemen about, because that's a really important place to start. Because if we don't know the point on the horizon in which we're aiming at to begin with, how do you know how to craft a plan or a roadmap way ahead? So that's a really important discovery that I have made. In terms of your question about what I have found surprising, I don't know if I'd say surprising. I'd say a trend that I've noticed, and what I see is that every protege that I have had to date in this program has been fairly well prepared. They've got the higher levels of education. They started their transition months and or years in advance prior to the separation. They were proactive in reaching out to find a mentor, and that is very, very encouraging. John's a great example of that. He fits that profile very well, and John has done well and is going to do well. The thing I am concerned about, and I hope that's not too heavy a word here for our discussion, is the vast majority of servicemen and women who don't have advanced degrees or education or certifications, who didn't transition or take advantage of their transition assistance programs, classes, offerings, whatever their services offer. That is more concerning to me, the folks that are not proactive and not reaching out. I'm going to make the assumption that they don't need a mentor, although I would have to say, as a small business owner myself now, as David has shared, it was a challenging transition for me to go from United States Army Sergeant Major into small business, and I had a number, and still have a number, of my own mentors that I really, really depend on. So I guess I'm surprised that we aren't having, I'm concerned that we're not having as much contact with those veterans that aren't contacting us, which is, I think, probably there's a larger pool there that could really use some help in that regard.
Well, for that pool, who you think they're not sure that they need a mentor, or they're just not taking advantage of programs that are out there, or they just don't know where to start, which is, like you said, they don't have a new they don't know where they're going. How can working with a mentor help them? I mean, what should they be afraid to work with somebody if they just don't even know what questions to begin to ask?
That's, yeah, man, there's so many advantages of having a mentor. I mean, I'm a protege and a mentor. I think just by having somebody there that's has at least your best interests in mind, is a trusted advisor, if you will, that you ask questions of, and to find out what works well, what are the best practices, what are your lessons learned, what do you recommend, what resources are available, what do you think I should not do? There's so much to talk about, and a good mentor can provide really tremendous value to anybody, military or non-military, in that regard. So for those folks that are out there that are kind of sitting on the fence, that may be listening in today, I really urge you, look at the website, look at some folks, reach out to some people. You may, reach out to 10 and 2 or 3 respond back, kind of see how it works out. Start a discussion. It can be really, really intimidating to leave a very well-structured organization where you're looking at a training schedule every day. You know exactly the clothes you're going to wear. You know exactly where you have to be at what time. You have a whole chain of command that supports you. You've got all the resources available to you. And then to have that almost immediately cut off at your transition and separation date. And that can be a pretty scary place to be. But there are people, there are organizations, this organization, lots of mentors here that can help. And are happy to help. So please reach out if you're thinking about it.
Thanks, Greg. And for any potential mentors who are listening today, Greg, what would you say to them for how they can help if they're wondering if they have what it takes to be a mentor and to help somebody transition from the service?
I would say. And I'll pass this on to David right after. I would say, there's people out there that they know more than I think that they realize. That they can be fantastic mentors. That if you've made that transition successfully, or if you're a successful entrepreneur, or you're successful in whatever it is that you've undertaken, you've learned a lot of things. And there are some men and women out there that are trying to get into something, and they're really not sure exactly what that is, maybe right off the bat. You'd be amazed at the amount of information you have that you could share that would help out another individual. It's a great experience to go through. I'm going to guess that you probably know more, have more lessons learned, and know more about best practices than you may give yourself credit for as a mentor. And I really would urge, if you want to help out, give it a shot. I mean, this is a very, very good program, well managed, lots of support. If you got questions, there's enough people that run it, staff it. Erica, you're one of the folks that are leading the way here. Plenty of resources for those folks that are considering to become a mentor, and I really urge you to do it. It's a very rewarding experience. Thanks.
David, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you nailed it right on the head. The only thing I think I would add on top of that is that I kind of think everybody should always be a mentor and a protege their entire life on many aspects. And I think what I've learned from being a mentor is that I end up being a protege to my own protege at some point. No matter what, there's always something that I learn from these relationships and these wonderful people that we communicate with. And it really is just a rewarding experience. It feels great, and you'll always keep learning, and you make some great friends in the process. I think that's it.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I think at this time, unless any of you have anything else that you would like to add in closing, I'll turn it back over to Michael. John, Greg, David?
Okay, great. So,
hey,
Erica, I have a couple questions that I'd just like to hopefully have you address for the general knowledge. I know we've been focusing on the one-to-one mentoring relationships today. What are some of the other ways that members can interact within the eMentor program?
That's a great question. We have discussion boards, we have discussion groups, Q&A area where people can just ask a question and anybody can answer it. And we have forums, and we've got a lot of partner organizations, and we post information from our partner organizations when they're having hiring fairs, if they have specific jobs that they want to post to our discussion forum so that they can advertise a job to the veterans that are members of our organization. We have that also, and we do have group mentoring too, where somebody, if we've got somebody who's interested in mentoring a bunch of folks in one field, they can start a group and work with that group together.
Great, thanks. And what I'd like to do now is if we could go ahead, Jim, and if you could bring up the steps to sign up on the PowerPoint, and Erica, if you want to talk us through just what those steps are so those folks who are listening can get a better understanding for how to get involved.
Sure.
So it looks like Jim has the slide up, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, so you can read more about our program at by visiting www.veteran-eMentor.com, and once you read more about it, you'll see a little button that says Join Now, and you can click on that, and you can begin to fill out your profile. The profile is pretty detailed, and once you do that, you can publish your profile, and then you can log in and begin to browse through mentors if you're a protege. And if you've joined as a mentor, you can actually browse through the proteges and find somebody who you think you'd like to work with and offer them mentoring. So it does work both ways. Proteges can select their own mentors, and mentors can select their own proteges to work with.
Very good. And the next slide I'll have Jim just bring up is your contact information. Erica, I know that you said if anyone has questions, they can reach out to you directly. So your email address is hemi@ementorprogram.org, and your phone number should be up on the slide now.
Yes,
so
absolutely. Contact me anytime.
So what we'll do is, I think we've heard kind of the closing remarks from the gentlemen. I'd like to thank David, Greg, and John for coming on and really giving us their insights on the mentor-protege relationship. Erica, in closing, what do you have that you'd like to bring up?
Just thanks to everybody for participating, and I hope that for those who are watching that you've learned a little bit about having a mentor or being a mentor, and how it can benefit you by both being a mentor and being a protege. And for those veterans who are getting ready to transition or have done so already, please join us and use our service. It's completely free. And there's just really no good reason not to. So please go to veteran-ementor.com and sign up.
Great, great. So we do have one question that came in. It looks like out on our YouTube link, and the question is if we could share the slides. I don't know what your feelings are on that, Erica. Maybe the best way is to have that individual just contact you directly, and you can talk through any of the questions that you may have.
Absolutely, and our overall program is eMentorprogram.org, and that's where you can see all of the different programs that we have, because we do have several online mentorship programs. But to get to the veteran site, it's veteran-ementor.com.
Very good, very good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell us about your program, and again, I appreciate the time of the gentleman to come on and tell us about their experiences. This is a great opportunity for those men and women who have transitioned or will be transitioning. So we will go ahead, and what we'll do is this presentation will be archived out on our YouTube track. You can find that by searching Career Connections, VetNet Career Connections on YouTube. That will come up, as well as all of our past presentations. And we'll go ahead and we'll provide this link to you as well, Erica, for your use afterwards. So with that being said, I'd like to close the Hangout again by saying thank you from the Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University and all of us at the VetNet program. We appreciate you taking your time to present and to listen, and we hope to talk to you all soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.